The Property Owners Association of Bella Vista, in cooperation with Bella Vista Community Television, presents the monthly POA board meeting held at the Bella Vista Country Club.
Good evening. Welcome. This is a great turnout. I'd like to have this turnout every month. We'll begin in asking everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everyone could stay standing, and Pastor Dennis Ritchie from the Presbyterian Church of Bella Vista will give our invocations.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this day, and we give you thanks that we can live at a community like Bella Vista. We give you thanks for those folks that are around this table tonight that serve on the POA board and the various employees that work for the property owners. We're grateful that we have such amenities and resources, and we pray for wisdom for this board as they seek to manage those things, that they would make wise decisions, that you would give them thick skin when they come up against folks who don't agree with what they've decided. We pray that we would be mindful that we are a community, that we seek to do what is best for all of us as we enjoy living in this beautiful city. Watch over us, guide us, and forgive us when we fall short. In his name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Before we get to additions and deletions of the agenda, I would like a show of hands from the people that are here for or concerned about Blowing Springs Bike Trail. And we are so happy that you're here to show concern and support for the bike trail. However, we're not talking about it tonight. It was never on our agenda. And certainly, unless somebody has some specific concerns that they want to address, I just want to let you know that at the front end of the meeting. So if you had something else to do, you could certainly do that. All right? There is one addition to our agenda this evening. Under new business, letter C, changes to declarations and covenants. We will be adding a proposal. It will be titled Update Procedure for Declaration Revisions. Next item on the agenda will be the approval of minutes from our August 20th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now have a report on the executive session by Vice Chair Brad Morris.
An executive session was held on September 3rd, 2015 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. All of the directors were present at that meeting, and I acted as chair for the meeting, even though Chairman Brooks was present. The executive session was held for the sole purpose of considering charges filed by a member of the POA that a violation of Bella Vista POA Policy 1.10, Board of Director Ethics, had occurred. The board considered those charges, found them groundless and without merit, and passed a motion to dismiss the charges entirely. The motion was passed unanimously, with Director Portillo abstaining.
Thank you. Our next report will be from our treasurer, Dwayne Mitchell. Financial report.
Come on.
There we go. This is, turn me down just a little. This is the cash reserve assessment report as of August 31st. The last one we did was in April. And so this is the same report you saw in April, but with new numbers updated through August the 31st. We get a lot of questions on this report, and I kind of want to just go through the details again of how it's made and what all it contains. But this is attachment 9 where you see the goldenrod. This is the water portion. This is the POA portion. This is our attachment 8 in your packet tonight. And then this is the combined attachment where I get the totals of all, but you can still see the separations. One to talk to the top, the total cash investments that the POA has, water, both short-term and long-term investments included, is $19,360,000. Sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But here is how it is kind of divided up and what it's used for. The current receivables and adjusted liabilities, we have receivables, they're quickly turned into cash when people pay their bills and stuff like that, and that's that 1.263. So that's added back into our cash. That's going to be converted to cash. But we also have bills. We have bills for different things. For the fertilizer, we have bills for water purchases, whatever, all across the POA, $4.4 million. And so that will be taken out of that cash. Then we have restricted funds, but we call these daily operation funds. The bond payment, we have to make a yearly bond payment. That's $460,000. The health insurance accrual for the health insurance plan is about $196,000. The other insurance reserves, our insurance policies come due at the end of September, so we have to figure out what it's going to cost for our liability insurance, our general liability, our umbrella policies, all of our workers' comp policies, and right now we're almost cutting over to that September date, so that's $452,000 of that set aside, and also the water bond restricted cash, which is the debt service reserve that we put money in to make that yearly payment. It's up to $683,000. So right off, we've got a total daily operation use of that $19 million of almost $5 million. You can see that number, and I've just put it in red to clarify that. It's not on your report in red. And then we've got the board-approved reserves. We've got different reserves from different times and points in times, and these are things that the board has approved at some point in time, and they review these periodically. We're going to review them again during the budget time, but they reviewed them even lately. We had a printout of them. But you can see different things. They even go back for a while. We've got some signed in other smaller things for like 23.8 still set aside from 2009. That may be used or may be absorbed in something else. We've got some Blowing Springs Trail, we have some stuff set aside for some benches and other things at a Blowing Springs Trail expense, and that's been set aside for a while, $18,000. The reserve project for the software, it's about to close. And here's the one we get asked about a lot. These are the proceeds from the sale of the property to the city of Bella Vista, $721,000. That's still set aside and still being carried. Carryover projects from prior years that haven't been finished. Estimated flood damage, when the board set aside money for the flood, it's being used for those repairs, and that's what we have left still in that account right there, $124,000. Anyway, you can go all the way down, including Water has one project, $51,000 on the U of A pipe study that we've done. But you can see some of the bigger ones, and one that we just recently set aside is the Meltfield Club renovation project for $333,000, and also another flood-related project. We've got a Kingsdale Golf Maintenance Culvert repair for $170,000. Anyway, all those things are various projects that we've set aside, and they have use of that money that we've set at the top. So we're down to almost $300,000 of those board reserves. Next, we're going to look at what the cash availability is after we take those other items off. Well, you saw $5 million used from the top. Now we've used some more for reserves, and now we're down to 11.5. We have 11.5 cash, and then we say, well, we need kind of a rainy day fund, a 60-day non-discretionary fund if something was to happen, a major something, that we would still have expenses. We'll still have our insurance payments. We'll still have certain costs that we have to pay, and that's like $1.4 million is what we've appropriated for that for. So when we look at the total over or under reserves, you can see the total of that $20 million we started with, we're down to $10 million. And then again, here is the definition of how that is. It starts out $20 million, daily operations $5 million, board reserves $3 million, recommended reserve for rainy day $1.4 million, or $10 million in a balance. And that's my report. Pending any questions?
Thank you, Dwayne. response to previous open forum comments, the only person that took the microphone to visit with us last month was our mayor, and he gave us an update on some equipment, and we were thankful for that presentation. So thanks to the mayor for spending time with us last month. Open forum. This is your time as an audience to approach the microphone, share with us your name, where you live, and any comments that you might have.
Thank you, Board. My name is Gary Vernon, and this is Grayson Vernon and Abigail Vernon. We're very proud Bella Vista residents. We live over on Churchill Drive, just up the road, and I've lived here 12 years. Grayson's lived here a lifetime. Abby's been here since she was 2, and when we moved here, I worked for Walmart, been there for many years. We bought a house over by Metfield, and as the family was growing, we decided, hey, it's time to upgrade our house, and we looked at Bentonville and Centerton and all that. But the master trail plan that you have for expansion in Bella Vista came out, and we decided to stay in Bella Vista. We love Bella Vista. I'm going to retire here, and we've got a group of supporters. This is not about any of the rumors of Blowing Springs. We know those are rumors. This is about supporting the trail expansion in Bella Vista, and when you have folks like this that are supporting trails, they're going to be out there helping maintain the trail, be out there using the trail. You're going to have folks. We've got stories here that you may hear in a few minutes of people who have moved from out of state to Bella Vista, not Bentonville, not Centerton, but to Bella Vista, because we know this is the premier place to put trails. Now, if you look at this terrain out here, it's not the best for many things, but it is perfect for trails. And for hiking, for walking, for bird watchers, for bicycling, you have folks that do it all here, and they are here to support that trail growth. And I really thank you guys. We appreciate your all support in the trail growth, but you're going to see some wonderful things happen to Bella Vista because of those trails. So we just wanted to come here and show you that support. That's why we're here.
Thank you, Gary.
My name is Andy Wiseman, and I'll be really short. Gary actually hauled me out of the woods one time when I was hurt in the mountain bike trails. I own a business, and I run the business here out of Bella Vista, and we do business all over the world, and I could live anywhere I want, including where I grew up in the Northwest, but I live right near Blowing Springs, and we choose to stay there. We could live in Florida or Oregon or California or wherever, and we stay here as a family, and I have 5 children. We stay here because we love the trails. That's what keeps us in Bella Vista. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Wes Wells. My family and I, we moved from Wyoming. I came down here for graduate school in nurse anesthesia, and we initially, we thought this would be a 1 year, go home, get the program with, go back to Wyoming, and my family have fell in love with Bella Vista, so we're going to stay here for the long haul. I mean, it's just wonderful, and part of that is being on the trails and meeting everyone. Everyone has been extremely nice. He loves being on the trails with everyone, and they encourage him. They tell him how great he's doing, and he loves that. So this expansion that that is proposed is just wonderful. And it's fascinating. We would love to contribute as much as we can. We want to be able to maintain and be out there in fellowship with other Bella Vista residents. I mean, it's just wonderful.
I want to add to my husband's. I'm Melissa Wells, and we initially looked at living in Bentonville because you kind of hear about their trail system a little bit more, and so coming from Montana, Wyoming area, we were up on the trails because we're bikers, and we wanted the kids to have that opportunity. And we came to visit Cooper Elementary, which is which my son attends, and found out that the trails were right there, that one of the teachers told us about it. And so we went and visited, rode the trails, and said, we're living in Bella Vista. This is great. And then we heard about the expansion, and we're like, okay, we're staying. Our families in Wyoming are a little disappointed, but we're looking at moving on, and when he graduates, buying another house here, and we just love it. We want to stay here. We're going to be life residents, and like he said, the community, the sense of community here. We lived in Montana for 7 years, and already just being welcomed into this community. We've been here since April, and it feels more like home than 7 years in Montana. So thank you guys. We're happy to be here.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, ladies, my name is Raymond Lewis, and I live at 7 Core Circle. A couple of months back, my wife and my mother-in-law stepped over and talked to you gentlemen and ladies about a situation that in your regulations that state that even though we are in the purchasing the house with our in-laws, we have been considered renters, and we are not allowed to enjoy the amenities that Bella Vista has. As far as, I love fishing. I've got a canoe. I'd like to be able to register and get out on the lakes and fish. And she approached a couple of months ago, and we haven't heard anything from you guys, and we were just wondering what the situation is. Have you come to any kind of conclusion that hopefully is something good?
I'll let Director Barfield respond to that.
Sure.
Member and who cannot be a member. It has to do with who's named on the deed. And rather than get into writing down one exception after another, we're going to try to invent a waiver process where a case could be presented to the board could review it, and if it meets certain criteria, we could grant a waiver to that family to add more people as members.
Because we're not going anywhere. We are taking care of our in-laws, in fact. So it's not like, we're just, here 1 week and going to be gone. This is some place that, I'm getting close to wanting to retire myself here shortly. So, I'd really like to be able to consider part of this and be able to enjoy the amenities that Bella Vista has.
Well, certainly you are available. It is available for you to use the amenities as a guest, and you do have the option to buy a lot and pay dues as a member. So if you were in a big hurry before we could get to this situation addressed, because it does take a little bit of time, unfortunately, those are some alternatives in the
Okay.
meantime.
Well, we've thought about the alternative as far as buying a lot, but that's just something else that we're going to have to pay dues again on top of, so we're paying double dues, basically. So if you understand where we're coming from, it just, it makes it kind of financially, it is an impact on us. So, but if you're saying that you're waiting for your lawyers to, kind of come up with an idea, so we'll hold on and wait.
Unfortunately, in some respects, we are hog-tied in our own bureaucracy with the declarations we have, and it takes a little work to try to figure out a way around it. We definitely want you to enjoy the amenities. We need the revenue from you enjoying the amenities.
Right.
So it's to no one's benefit to deny you that access.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond.
Good evening. Chuck Leffler, Cargill Drive, Bella Vista. First, I want to thank the board. You guys taking care of Tommy Bailey, moving him on. That made my day. It was my birthday. He's gone. We should have a lot of money to spend now, and I'd like to see some projects come to light. And one of them is some finished business with some of the things here in Bella Vista, like water features. I never see anything in the budgets for you guys doing anything for water features, bringing this place up to date where it should be. You know, everything I hear is all golf courses. I think we should close one golf course because I don't think we can afford them all. And that's my thought. Cafe Amici here. This place needs to be updated. You spend your money, golf, a couple of the other places that still look terrible. This should be your flagship restaurant and clubhouse. And it's still back in the 60s. We moved here 9 years ago. They were just finishing this project. And I thought it turned out the same, $2 million, $2.5 million. It still was back in the 60s. I don't get it. I think Nick has done a pretty good job here. And I think I'd like to see him with an open kitchen, new carpet, new bar stools. Get this place updated where it should be. And if you disagree, then let me know, because I think that's where it should be. Make this a flagship country club. That's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Hello, I think you all know me. My name is Patricia Haas. I live at 2 Pitlochry Circle in Bella Vista. Been here for over 21 years. And I stand before you because of the Chairman Chat's remarks about the looking for a new person to be the general manager, and the fact that y'all felt unqualified to assess who or what that should look like. It reminded me a lot of The Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy and Toto going down the road, and they come down there, and there's a fork in the road, and they're undecided as to which way to go. And whenever we're undecided as to which way to go, we have major problems. I think Bella Vista's POA boards have had and continue to have major problems. This is nothing personal against any of you, because I know that you might think of it that way. But we have got to get our act together here. You're looking for a general manager. What are you going to look for in a general manager? What are the qualifications? There doesn't seem to be anything listed anyplace as to what that would look like and who is this person that you want. And the fact that you feel incompetent to even evaluate that is because you don't have anything in place to do that. That's the biggest issue. And the criteria of a board member, I mean, how much training have y'all had? I don't think any. I think maybe when you got elected, you got in the car and you drove to the amenities and were pointed out as to this is where this is and that's where that is. That is not board training. Board training is making sure that everybody understands their role and goes forth with it. And when you're making a decision, you need to use that criteria in order for you to be effective. We're not being effective at all. We have no criteria, and if you're asked for criteria, if you're interviewing like I did and got shot out of the water with no, there was no problem, which you referred to before in your executive meeting, you have to have some ways to evaluate people. You can't just ask people to interview with no criteria at all, no objectives. There's nothing here that says, where are you going in a year? Where are you going in 5 years? Nothing. This is not a board. You have fiduciary responsibility as a board to the people of Bella Vista as to what and how you're going to be spending our money and who is the person that's going to be in charge of that. So that's basically, I think there are so many people here that have talked to me about it. They knew I was going to come and express their ideas. And you're probably not going to like this, but many people feel that we should start anew with not only a new GM, but also with a new board. Maybe it's time for all of us to move on and know once we set some objectives and some criteria, this is the way we're going to run the village. And bringing in a GM that has no experience of Bella Vista will make absolutely no sense. You have to come here and know who we are, what is the goal of coming here, and how are we going to learn to advance based on all of that. So that's basically all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Dave Rutan. I live at 9 Kintyre Place on Loch Lomond. We've been on the lake for about 4 years. 3 years of that we had a boat that was in the marina. And recently we purchased a house. We've been there for about a year. And one of the things we've noticed over the course of the last few years is the presence of the lake ranger has become less and less present. The first year we were on the lake, we'd see a lake ranger out there every single Saturday, Sunday throughout the course of the summer. And over the past couple of years, there's almost no presence in whatsoever. And I know that the common problem is always money. And I'm kind of getting used to hearing this response, well, we just don't have the funding for that. But I don't hear anybody saying, but let's see if we can find a way to find a solution for this problem. And so I was talking to the Lake Committee yesterday and was asked to speak here tonight about a proposal that I had for Loch Lomond to possibly try to reach out to lakefront property owners and see if we could organize a way to contact all of them and create some sort of a minor fee, $50 to $100 a season, okay, $50 to $100 a year, to provide funding for lake ranger, for possibly treating weeping willows that they've been doing lately to absorb some of that cost. I have a hard time finding anybody who has a property on the lake who can't come up with $100 a season, and especially when it's put towards something that's helping to maintain what I think all of us enjoy being on the lake, which is responsible boating, policing that. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept called broken windows, but basically that's what I see happening, is that we're letting this erode to the point where it's going to get worse and it's going to be much tougher to fix, and at some point in time it's going to have to be fixed, because it's going to erode to the point where we're going to have to put more enforcement, stronger, stringent circumstances. It's not that bad right now, but I'd like to see it improve and maintain before it gets to that point. And I don't see any reason why the people who are on the lake can't be asked to help out with that. And even if it's just I think with the right organization and to put it to them in the right fashion, that getting this amount of money out of lakefront property owners, even if we don't get it from all of them, we get it from a good percentage of them, would help to put money for people that have a vested interest in their real estate values in the lake as well. And so we're not trying to go to some other fund. We're not asking people who don't use the lake that much to participate in something which, honestly, obviously, I understand they don't want to have to try to pay for. But if there's some way that we can help facilitate that, then we'd like to see something done to try to get a hold of this and move it in the right direction before it gets to be a bigger problem. Thank you.
Dave,
Yes, sir.
would you give your phone number to, you have? Okay, all right,
Asking if he would be willing to serve on an ad hoc committee.
okay.
Sure, absolutely. Not a problem, not a problem.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Old business.
The Highlands Clubhouse is the first item of old business, and the professional cleaners are about finished with the cleaning, and talked with Dave and Scott today, and they are planning on start stocking the restaurant next week. Still have the health department requirement, but things look a lot better for that to pass. The next item, Metfield Clubhouse, is also mine. The contract was signed this week. The architect issued a notice to proceed today with the contractor, so that program will be starting. You got
ADA, an ADA update. Most of the current projects are completed. We are in the process of reviewing some of the work that was done by the contractor in hopes of having that work redone or brought up to a better quality product. We should have an answer about what's happened in that meeting in the next week.
Bob, many in the audience may not know the background of ADA, Americans with Disability Act, and our requirements. Maybe you could give them a little update on where the funds came from, how much has been dedicated, and how much is left.
Generally speaking, we fall under the ADA Act, and what that means is there are certain requirements that change over time. One of them, as an example, is a ramp for wheelchair parking. So if you park your car in one of our parking lots, and our parking lot has more than a 2% grade, we're required to change the grade to 2%. Just outside the doors here, if you turn right, you'll notice that we have a new aluminum fixture that was placed over an existing ramp. Well, that ramp had too high a grade, and so the aluminum fixture is in place to solve that problem, to lower the grade so that it can be navigated easier. These changes were a result of an ADA audit that we had commissioned, and in order to follow the guidelines set forth by the ADA. The money that is being spent on these improvements comes from the sale of our city building, our old POA office membership services building, and I believe fire department buildings to the city. I think that money was raised was about 1.8 million, and as Dwayne showed in his presentation earlier, we have about 795,000, 21, something of that nature, and that's work that still needs to be done. Now, I will let you know that we will get that work done, and probably in 6 or 7 or 8 years, there will be a revision to those requirements, and we will be asked to spend more money to make those revisions. So it's a never-ending process. But we want our the handicap members of our community to feel welcome. It's money well spent, and we're happy to accommodate all visitors and members. Master Trail update.
Yeah, the next one, and I've got that also, Bob, myself, and Mike Taggart met with Alta this week, and we got an update on where we are. The building, or the bids on Phase 1 are due this Monday at 4 o'clock in their office. We should have some numbers to the board just shortly after that to see what the first phase is, and the first phase is the walking trail, the 8-foot walking trail around.
Now, Dwayne, are you talking about
Branchwood.
or the?
Branchwood
That's the
only.
first part.
Yeah, Phase 1 on Branchwood. And once we receive the bids, we'll pass it on to you guys.
As far as where the contract stands with regard to the master trail, Doug, would you like to comment on that?
Master trail plan for,
License agreement you talked about.
yeah. I've been in contact with the Walton Family Foundation back and forth over the last year or so, and we finally come to a resolution that we're going to, I believe they're on board, go forward with a license agreement to allow them to build trails, soft surface trails in Bella Vista. Their attorneys are reviewing the license agreement that I drafted. There will be revisions to that, I'm sure, which I'll have to look at again, but we're hopeful that can be resolved here fairly quickly. But again, I'm hopeful, but it's taken a number of months to this point, so I can't give a definitive deadline, timeline.
And for everybody in the audience that's really interested in this, in what's going on, the movement and why it takes so long, our declarations don't allow us to take common property and sell it. We just can't sell it unless 2/3 of the membership votes to sell it. So in order to use it and have it improved, what we have to do, what we have done, is come up with a licensing agreement to license that land for use as trails. Now, what that entails then is we have the cost of building the trail and the future cost of maintaining the trail, which is going to be split by the city and the POA, with the POA doing the work. That will be a very big project every year when we finally get all of the trails put in place. So if you can help me by understanding that we can't just sell 12 feet of land for 400 miles in our community. We have to lease it, and unfortunately today we've got a very litigious society, and it's probably in our best interests in your best interests to make sure that every base is covered. All right? So, and I would like a show of hands, just because I'm interested. I am not asking for an assessment increase. I am not bringing up an assessment increase. I am asking those people that use the trails, appreciate the trails, like the nature. I want you to think about what it's worth to you. Because at some point, we're going to need a lot of money to maintain these trails. Okay? So I just want everybody to think about that. That's really in favor of those things. All right. New business. We have a request variance a request for bid variance on fuel purchase. It's the policy of the POA to receive 3 bids. We sent bids out to 5 companies this year to provide our fuel for the year. 2 companies responded. You have that information in front of you. And so I need a motion to accept a variance to the bid process for those 2 bids.
I will make a motion to waive our minimum 3 bid requirement so that we can go ahead and take action on our 2015 fuel bids.
Second. Any discussion?
Just a point of reference as well that Director Nuttall is unavailable tonight. He's out of the state, and I do have a proxy for Director Nuttall, so before we begin voting, I just want people to know that I'll be raising 2 hands, one for myself and one for John.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. We have a person that represents our interests in our water department on the water board. In the past, the general manager has been the appointed person, the appointed director for that entity, and Mike Taggart, our water manager, was the alternate. I'm asking for the board's approval tonight to appoint Mike as the director and to appoint the assistant water manager as his second. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, and I'll go ahead and read it because I think we're all in agreement here. We would move to appoint Mike Taggart as the director on the Benton, Washington Regional Public Water Authority Board, and Water Superintendent Dennis Harmon is appointed to serve as the alternate director of the Benton, Washington Regional Public Water Authority Board on behalf of the Bella Vista POA.
You need a second on Mr. Morse's.
Need a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, changes to the declaration, proposed changes to the declaration. As I stated earlier, we would be adding one proposed change. What I'll do is read those changes individually, and we will vote on each one individually. Proposal 1, update procedure for declaration revisions. To change the duration section of the declarations to provide for a more effective means of updating and revising the declaration to meet the current needs of the association. This proposal would require a majority of members to cast a vote in a declaration change election quorum and require 2/3 of those voting to approve the change in order for it to pass. Proposal also allows for the approved revisions to be implemented in 1 year, permitting timely adjustments to rapidly changing conditions. What we're doing is proposing going from 2/3 to a majority. Discussion?
Let me see if I can add a little bit to that. We spoke earlier about being hogtied in our own bureaucracy, and this change is intended to try to fix some of that. Today, if we want to make a change to a declaration, it requires a ballot to go out to all 35,000 members in good standing, and then for that election, for those ballots to even count, 2/3 of them have to be returned. If we don't get a 2/3 return rate, it's not a quorum, and the election doesn't count. What we're proposing is to reduce that quorum requirement to 51%, so that a simple majority of the ballots we mail out, if they're returned, that constitutes a quorum. And then 2/3 of that 50% return rate would then be used to determine whether the declaration change passes or not. Today, that threshold of a 2/3 quorum requirement and a 2/3 positive vote requirement is a threshold that's nearly impossible to meet. So we're somewhat hogtied. We can't make a lot of progress if we need to change something. For example, the gentleman that wanted some relief on having additional members and being able to get a POA card on his property. That's what we're trying to address, trying to make it a little bit easier to change our declarations so that you, the membership, through your board of directors, are more in control of your own destiny.
I'd also just like to clarify that we're going to take a vote tonight to suggest that this needs to go on a ballot to a vote of the membership.
Right.
So the board is not about to try to change the declarations here tonight.
We can't do that.
The
Yeah.
board is saying we want the membership to vote on a change to the declarations. Okay?
And to be clear, when that ballot goes out, it will have to meet the 2/3 requirement, and if it passes, it'll take 3 years to implement. We're trying to reduce that to 50% and reduce the effective time to 1 year. But it won't be effective for 3 years. All confused now?
So, do I have a motion to change the requirement of 2/3 vote to 51% vote for the quorum, and to adjust the time of implementation to 1 year?
I'll make a motion to put that motion on the ballot to the membership.
Discussion?
I have a problem with moving from 3 years to 1 year. The 3-year requirement was, by the way, I'm Pat Laurie. the 3-year requirement was formulated in the 60s, when the declarations and covenants were first set up. In a time of snail mail, in a time of slow response, and it seems to me that given the speed of information flow and the fact that, I'll use my example, I love my example. If the Supreme Court were to declare that capital punishment was cruel and unusual and therefore had to be rescinded, it would take, according to this proposal, a year, 3 years to implement that. I jokingly said the state of Texas would then act expeditiously to get everybody that they could possibly think of in a death penalty case through the court system so that they could execute him before the time span arrived that they would have, they could do it immediately. It seems to me that if we have a proposal to change the declarations and covenants that has been fully vetted by the board, that you have voted for, that we have considered all of the implications that change has, and that there's no reason to go forward, or no reason not to go forward as expeditiously as possible. So I would suggest that when we have a motion or have a movement to change a feature of the declarations and covenants, that we attach to that a statement of the time with which that change would take effect. For instance, for something that is simply a paper change, it would become effective immediately. Doesn't take a lot of time to change paper. Doesn't take a lot of time to change wording. But if there is something substantial, if it would have a change in voting rights, if it would have a change in property rights, then we would have to proceed more cautiously. And so we might say that this proposed change would not take effect for 90 days, for 120 days, for 180 days, or whatever. But to simply wait for a year seems to be ludicrous, just because that's what the declarations say. The actions that we take should be based upon sound judgment and sound timing. And there's no need for the declarations to declare, let's wait for 3 years, or let's wait for a year. So I would propose an amendment to the motion that the proposed declaration change take place in an expedient manner that allows for full vetting of the implications.
Just so I'm clear, Pat, are you saying that when it's written, or when it's proposed, and before it's voted on, they would know at what time it would be implemented?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying that when it was proposed to the community, the change would be proposed along with a notation that the change would take place within some period of time. So that everybody, and again, these changes to the declarations and covenants are, the minimum time frame in which that could take place is 90 days. So everyone should be fully cognizant of the implementation process.
I'm certainly open to that amendment of the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So the motion as stated by Mr. Lauer would be the implementation of any declaration change. The wording would be in an expedient manner based on the change that was made to the declaration. Okay. Any other discussion?
Do we entertain comments from the audience?
All in favor for that motion as stated? Any opposed? That one passes.
Proposal 2, certificate memberships. To permit the association to offer certificate memberships for sale to non-property owners and thereby provide access to the amenities for the purpose of generating additional revenue. The sale of limited-term certificate memberships permits the use of amenities mainly by those living nearby, thereby generating additional operating revenue. So what we're talking about are people that are moving into this area with a job change and know they're only going to be here for a few short years. They would have the ability on an annual basis to pay a fee. That fee then, which would be determined by a future board, that fee then would allow them to have access to amenities as determined by that future board. So I will read, I'll read the proposed change. The association will offer certificate memberships for sale to non-property owners, providing access to amenities of the Bella Vista POA. Those memberships will be determined by a future board or boards, and fees and amenity usage will be determined by a future board or boards. This amendment is intended to go to a vote of the entire membership. No.
Again, Linda, the target market are folks who move into the area, whether it's Bentonville, Rogers, Bella Vista, whatever, don't intend to purchase property because they know they're going to be moving on. We would like to get revenue from them using our amenities. So we're going to offer a future board, again, this will take 3 years before it becomes effective if it passes by the membership. A future board will have the capability of selling a certificate membership at whatever fee schedule they choose. Does that help?
For clarification, once again, each of these will be voted on separately, even if they are on the same ballot.
Correct. Any other discussion?
Who made the original motion? We need a first.
I made the motion.
You made the motion.
No other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposition for John.
The next proposal to bring before the membership for a vote will be the assignment of membership privileges. This proposal is brought in order to allow a landlord to designate his or her tenant as the member rights or member privilege participant in our amenities. So we are attempting to change the property rights of the common property section of the declarations to allow any member or associate member to delegate his or her rights of enjoyment in the common properties and amenities. The assignment of membership privileges from a current property owner to another individual permits use of the amenities, thereby generating additional operational revenue. So the how we go about that?
Just make a motion for what you've read there, yeah.
So the motion is to allow the assignment of membership privileges by members to his or her delegate for the enjoyment of common property and amenities. These assignment of membership privileges would be from a current property owner to another individual.
Do they have to be renting property from that person?
We get a second and then have a
Second.
discussion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
As I understand it,
Do they need to be a renter of that individual person in order to have that right delegated to them, or can I do it to anybody else of my choosing? Can't just give it to anybody.
This motion was based on renters.
Renters.
Right.
Okay. So it would not just go to anybody, it has to be a renter of that landlord.
for the benefit of the people in attendance, of course, we have people who are long-term renters of properties, and they are not allowed to use the amenities as members. The owner of the property is allowed to use the amenities as a member. But that owner may delegate his rights of use for the amenities to the renters, except for the right to vote for membership on the board. The vote for membership on the board remains with the owner of the property, the person on the title.
What about delegation changes? What about declaration changes? Go with that or not?
To the best of my knowledge, this is an assignment of membership rights to the amenities.
No
not
voting.
Voting rights.
Yeah, no voting rights.
No voting rights at all.
No voting
Exactly.
rights.
No
Okay.
voting.
Any topic.
My question would be, why would you want to limit it to just renters? So, for example, you might have someone who lives far away and has an unimproved lot, but they're not here to actually take advantage of it and use the amenities. A family member might be here who could use those amenities if they have the rights to those. So does it matter, or what's the issue of whether it should be specifically tied to a renter?
That didn't come up for discussion in the Rules and Regs Committee. It was presented as renters only. And I believe that's what the Rules and Regs Committee wanted to bring before the board.
As I recall the background on this topic, we're trying to address a specific concern raised by people who live in our community but aren't the owners of the property. These are people who, might be paying, conceivably $1,000, $2,000 a month to live here, and yet are denied the same privileges of somebody who's, owns a house next door. And while I see that there could be those sorts of situations, I don't think we've got a groundswell of interest from people who happen to be in the neighborhood and grandpa owns an undeveloped lot or something like that. So that may be something that could be considered. My perception of this intended vote would be to cover only a renter of a property.
That's right. We are trying to target the 10% of all residents here who are renters. That's a huge market who only have access to our amenities as a guest. They get a one-year guest pass and use the amenities and pay the higher guest fees. Many of them choose not to do that because the fees just price them out of the market. They choose not to do it. So we're trying to capture as much of that 10% resident market as we can by offering them amenity privileges that a member would have and pay member rates.
There's also a few amenities that presently a guest literally has no access to. A guest can't register a boat, that sort of thing.
My thinking is just to make it as broad as possible for future boards to be able to do the most they possibly can if you're going to go to the trouble to do it. However, if it means it has to go back to rules and regulations and slow it all down, I wouldn't oppose it the way you proposed it.
Any other discussion? Call for vote.
All in favor of the motion as read by Chairman Brooks? Any opposed?
Next order of business is the regulation of common property, cutting trees. 2.07. Preservation of trees on common property is critical to maintain the aesthetics and natural beauty of Bella Vista Village and to protect property values for all parties. Trees are vital to maintaining the environment by stabilizing soils, minimizing water runoff, protecting native flora in the shaded understory, and supporting wildlife. Standing dead trees and downed trees are of particular value to wildlife and will generally be left in place due to their ecological value and because of the unavoidable additional disturbance caused by their removal. It is a violation of Arkansas state law and this policy to cut down, remove, prune, or damage a tree or vegetation located on common property without first obtaining a written common property permit from the Maintenance and Construction Division of the POA. In the event of damage or removal of trees from common property in violation of this policy, the Board of Directors authorizes the General Manager to take one or more of the following actions. 1. Request payment in the amount of $250 per tree for every damaged or removed tree greater than 3 inches in diameter as measured at the base of the tree trunk. 2. Request payment in the amount of up to $2,500 if the number of damaged or removed trees cannot be determined. 3. Request the replanting and maintenance of new trees, including size, location, and species. The property owner may be required to incur the cost of up to 8-foot tall trees as measured from the base of the tree trunk to the top of the tree. 4. Remove any downed trees or debris with related costs becoming the responsibility of the offending property owner. 5. File a criminal complaint against the property owner with the proper legal authority. And 6. Pursue any legal remedy authorized by law. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve policy, Board of Director Policy 2.07.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? We'll now look at a proposed change for Article 2, Organization and Responsibilities of the POA Organization, Section 1. A, the POA shall be governed by a board of directors elected by the membership. The powers of the board and duties thereof are herein set out in these bylaws. B, the POA is a nonprofit corporation organized under the laws of the state of Arkansas, composed of members and associate members as herein defined. The rights, privileges, and conditions of the membership and restrictions thereon are hereinafter set out in these bylaws. C, because the POA is a corporation existing under the laws of the state of Arkansas, the corporation shall have officers known as corporate officers to fulfill the requirements of the law, the declaration, articles of incorporations, and these bylaws. The board of directors shall appoint a president, secretary, and a treasurer. The board may also appoint a vice president and temporary corporate officers as deemed necessary. Qualifications, responsibilities, and duties of corporate officers are set out hereinafter in these bylaws. And we are omitting the following sentence. To meet the need of the POA structure, the general manager will be appointed president. So we are removing the automatic appointment of the general manager as president. That does not mean that he cannot be appointed president by a board, but it is not going to be an automatic appointment. D, the responsibilities and duties of the general manager shall be set forth in broad form in these bylaws, and more specific details as to responsibilities, duties, and qualifications may be set forth in a policy statement by the board of directors. I would entertain a motion to accept the change of eliminating the automatic appointment of the general manager as president of the POA.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Took three people out. I presented a presentation to the board in work session. I have not changed my recommendation. I'm here basically to get additional personnel.
We need to vote on a bid, on the bid for erosion control of Scottsdale Golf Course, hole number 13. That information was shared in a work session meeting. The information should be part of what each of you has been able to review. So I would entertain a motion to vote on this bid. Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion to vote to approve the expenditure?
Again, for the benefit of the audience, number 13 at Scottsdale is a par 4? It's a par 4 course, and the left-hand side of the fairway is eroding. There's water passage from the right side underneath to the left side. And the pipe that is used to, correct me if I'm wrong on the name of this, Keith, the pipe that is used to conduct the water to the left side has eroded the land and needs to be fixed so that the erosion does not continue. The people on the golf course have done a great job of putting out stakes and cable, and those stakes and cable and signage, those stakes and cable have been moved repeatedly as more and more land erodes. The only way to fix that is to replace the conductor underneath and then do some other reinforcement. So what's going to happen, when we went out there the other day and looked at it, that stake right there, there was a sign right there that said golfers not permitted beyond this point. But that sign was 3 feet in to the erosion. So if you were to read the sign, you're already in trouble. So it's not a matter of convenience. It's not a matter of, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'll get used to this sometime soon, hopefully. It's not a matter of convenience. It's not a matter of accommodating golfers. It's a matter of safety. And Chuck showed us, or Keith showed us, a picture of a golf cart down at the bottom of that ravine. This is almost a no-brainer. You know, something has to be done because it's going to continue to erode and continue to, and with heavy equipment moving over that erosion, there's the possibility that as grass is cut and a tractor with pulling a cutter behind it, or a tractor and a cutter, may experience erosion when they're in the process of doing their work, and so we may end up with a devastating accident.
I've been here a year and a half, and we've moved these stakes 4 times since I've been here. This picture shows it 2010. This was last week. This much land minimum has moved.
Maybe that's a golf course that should close.
I'm sorry,
Maybe we should start closing that golf course.
that's not up to me.
Well, comment, we're gonna keep counting money in these courses. I'd rather spend the money somewhere else.
Well, if you want to comment for me, obviously, my job is to maintain golf. And my one concern would be the people that live around there are probably not going to be real excited about that idea. And if we're going to stay open, my recommendation is to repair this because it's unsafe.
Thank you, Keith.
What's the cost on that one?
We're-
I can show you. 31,700 for engineering.
Yeah.
Construction estimated 87,250. Total 118,950.
They're gonna guarantee that?
Are they going to guarantee it works? I would not say, this is Craft and Toll, an engineering company. If they're going to put their stamp on it, I think they're going to give you as good a guarantee as you can hope to get in a short job.
One thing we should think about is that was a gully 50 years ago. And when the golf course was constructed, they put in a culvert, made of metal, and then filled in the gully. That process has a life of about 30 years, much like a farm pond and a farm pond dam that's built. And we're past 30 years, I think.
Yeah, we are. That golf course was put in around that length of time. We did send a camera down at first into the culvert because we wanted to see if there was be a easier way to fix the culvert. And that company showed us that the entire bottom was rusted out. We gave that report to the engineering company. They looked at it. They felt it needed to come out. And then, of course, on the end that you saw that had the erosion, there's going to have to be a major work done there to secure it, to your point, that it will stay in place short of something really catastrophic.
Well, that's almost $300,000.
No, it's 118,950 total.
118, 200.
No. These two numbers total 118,950.
I think what we have to do, and although it is a large amount of money, if we look at a 30-year life, we're talking about $6,000 a year. Or not even that, we're talking about $3,000 a year. So,
But more importantly, if somebody falls in that because it gave way when a tractor's going by, you're going to spend more than $118,000.
right.
I think safety needs to be number one priority.
This funding will obviously come out of reserves. We'll have to move reserve funds to cover that. Did you have a chance to look to see if there's anything already in reserve funds that we could reallocate, like some flood?
I
funding
have not
from 2 years
determined
ago?
that, no. We do know that I know I've been putting money to repair car paths, and we're finished. I know there is still some money in that. I can't tell you exactly how much it is. Dwayne would probably, but it's less than that. It's not that total. Well, I was wrong. It's all of that.
Let's consider.
The other reason I'm bringing it up is because the concern is, you're going to have to close when you do the work. And to do the engineering and all the new requirements, federal requirements, it may take them 3 or 4 months, based on our experience doing other engineering projects out here, to be able to even go to bid. So it's going to take a little bit of time once it's approved to get to where we can repair it.
Well, that'll put it right in the dead of winter, which won't have much
Hopefully.
use, and we could maybe get the construction done without too much impact on the golfers. To finish what I was saying, can we vote to approve this project contingent upon finding some reallocation of reserve funds so that we don't have to move some more reserve funds over to a?
Well, I mean, the project has to be done. So whether we can find it or not, I think we can do our best efforts, but whether we find it or not, we have to do it.
Okay, I give.
I would also like to suggest, again, based on Keith's point, that we could be looking at a 3 to 4 month engineering process, and that line item number 2 is clearly labeled estimated construction cost. We don't really know what it may take to fix this. It may be $84,000, it may be $104,000. I would like a motion tonight to approve the engineering and permitting fees, and then, come December, when the engineering process is done, and we know what it will cost to fix it, we can act to go forward with the fixing.
Fine. Any objection to that?
Does that delay the project in any way?
I second that motion.
Okay, so is that the motion on the table?
I'll withdraw the first motion.
Okay. So the motion on the table is to expend $31,700 for engineering and permitting fees, which has been for erosion control on Scottsdale number 13. That motion was made by Director Morris and seconded by Director Lowry.
Any other discussion? Okay. Vote, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, Joint Advisory Committee meeting minutes or reports.
Golf met last week, or a couple weeks ago, I guess it was by now, and number one topic seemed to be to increase golf rounds, but to eliminate the unused or unscheduled tee times. For an example, a group might have 8 tee times on a general basis and maybe use 4 or 5 of those tee times on a weekly basis without canceling the ones that they don't plan to use. Put a tighter control on that and identify the ones that are doing that. Seems to be a plan to cut that out so that those tee times are open to the general public so we can use those. Keith also talked about the country club greens were coming in nicely and talked about play it forward tees have been marked on all courses, and they will be more permanently identified as we go along. In other words, move up and enjoy the game.
Anybody from Lakes?
I'll cover Lakes and Rec.
Okay.
Neither one of those committees had a quorum present, so they couldn't really discuss business and vote on anything. However, at both meetings, I asked the chairman to consider a recommendation made by Director Lowry to invite the chairman of the JAC's Golf Lakes and Rec to make these reports that we're making now at the board meeting. Both of those gentlemen were in favor of doing that, didn't see a problem with it, and actually appreciated the opportunity to come to the board. Rather than get the report secondhand from knuckleheads like us, they can firsthand. On the Lakes Committee, also didn't have a quorum. Let's see, I did make some notes. Mr. Rutan, sorry, I didn't butcher your last name, did address the issue about lake rangers, which we've discussed and will continue discussing. I would like to pursue his recommendation to ask lake residents to consider a voluntary contribution to their assessment to fund additional lake rangers, especially during the active season. Mr. Rutan also made a comment about a tree that has fallen down into the lake near his property, not on his property, but next to his property, which is causing a potential obstruction to his boat dock. And we need to take a look at that and see if there's anything the POA can do to assist him in getting that tree removed. That's all I have from the lakes.
Anyone have anything else? Very good. The next GM Board monthly meeting will be held on Thursday, October 1st, 2:30 at the Country Club Board Meeting Room. This is a closed discussion meeting. Next Board of Directors work session will be held on Thursday, October 8th, 8 o'clock in the morning at the Country Club Board Meeting Room. And the next Board of Directors regular meeting will be held on Thursday, October 15th, 6:30 here in the Country Club Board Meeting Room. We are needing a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor? Aye. We'd like to thank the audience for their participation, their suggestions, and their attendance tonight. We will do our best to address your concerns and hopefully find some solutions. Thank you.
This has been the monthly meeting of the POA Board of Directors from the Bella Vista Country Club. This has been a production of Bella Vista Community Television.